The tentative schedule will be as follows. After I introduce, there'll be the first speech by Grand Chief Joseph Norton, followed by 5-minute speeches by each council chief candidate, and their names will be selected at random. My assistant will be pulling the name out of her bowl, and a chime will sound 15 seconds before 5 minutes is up to enable a candidate to close their statements. After all the speeches are done, we're going to have an intermission for 15 minutes, and then there will be a question and answer period conducted by community members, either by microphone or will provide pieces of paper for you to write your questions. At the end of that period, there'll be another closing by Joe McGregor and another closing by yours truly. What I'm hoping and what I want from the audience tonight is to have some respect and listen to their speeches, because according to the election law, every person who is currently here have met all requirements and they deserve to be here. So they deserve to have you listen to them. To start, we're going to have Grand Chief Joseph Norton, who has won by acclamation. And Joe said he's going to try to keep his speech very, very quick.
Yahweh Angus. First of all, thank you for all being here tonight, and thank you for not running against me. It makes my job that much easier. But all joking aside, this is a very serious evening. All the candidates have taken the time to go through the procedure of being screened, as Angus has mentioned, and provide themselves to the public in order to be able to see if they're successful in terms of their candidacy. We have a mixture of returnees, incumbents attempting to retake their seats, if you will, and then we have others who have probably for the first time, or there's others who have been here before in the past, and they wish to try and come back and come forth with all their knowledge and their past experience to provide you with the kind of experienced leadership that they have demonstrated in the past. And in saying so, I mean, I think that we have to acknowledge too, there are 3 council members who decided not to run again. We have to acknowledge them in terms of the years and the time that they contributed to this most difficult position in this community. So hopefully the new council will know in 2 weeks' time, will understand that this is not a picnic. This is not a place where people can just ride the waves and see their way through, because there are so many issues, very difficult issues that we face internally, externally, both in the surrounding area as well as in the province and in Ottawa, right across the country. As a Grand Chief, and I'm not here to talk basically about my position, but it's good to note and understand that being a Grand Chief isn't simply just sitting there and being a spokesperson. You also have to help and organize the council members themselves, because it's usually a very diverse representation that that will be there, representing the communities themselves. As you know, we're quite diverse ourselves, so there's a reflection in the community. So the Grand Chief, as well as others, have to think about and look at who the people are, their personalities, what talents they have, and the differences that will arise over the course of 3 years. I just came through a 3-year period in sitting and looking at and hearing from those that I did not know really, only maybe saw once in a while somewhere. And it's a learning experience. It's a real growing experience. So again, in the next 3 years, what I'd like to do is try and mold a team of our council members to be able to serve you well. And that requires a lot of discipline on all of our parts, including myself, number one. So with those few words, I don't want to take up too much time. We have quite an array of different people here, and we should hear from them. Diabo.
Lucky number 1 is Rhonda Kirby.
I'd like to welcome everyone to this very important evening tonight. For those of you who don't know me, this will be my 5th term running. My parents are the late Ronnie and Barbara Kirby. I have 2 sons and 3 wonderful grandchildren that certainly help keep me grounded on days. With each term, I've taken on files that have been very contentious, and I've always been ready to take on many of those challenges. This past term, I worked on residency and cannabis. And as you know, the membership law was passed last night after 5 years and 5 months. So now we can concentrate on the residency law. The reason we had hoped it would have been finished sooner, but we wanted to make sure that the work that was being done in the membership law didn't contradict, the work that was done in membership wasn't contradicted. So I feel residency law is equally important now. And one of the things that is over these years, we've seen a number of other First Nations community people move in, whether it's for work or education. But I think it's important that we know exactly who's coming in to the community. And one of the main reasons was based on the Deschenaux decision, which, for some of you that don't know, has certainly added a lot of people to the Kahnawake membership. The other file is cannabis, which has forced us to put in legislation. We're almost at completion. We did try to make sure that we beat the federal deadline of July 1st. Now that it's been extended, we still have a little bit of time to complete ours. And actually, tomorrow the drafting team is finishing up the comments that maybe were made by some of you here tonight. So once all of those comments are made, we will bring it back to the community as part of the KLCC. And hopefully it'll be in the new term. I don't think we can try and squeeze it into to next week. Other files that I've been working on are the Cattery Hospital and Renovation Project, and although it was slated to be finished this time, there were delays, and the completion date is now scheduled for early summer 2019. Part of that included the labor file, which is something that I've been on for the last 10 years, and which started off with the qualifications program that started in 2007 to the creation of the labor office. In addition is the transport file, which includes the previous work that was done on 207, which included the culvert project. And now we are looking at the 207 and 30 interchange, which is something that is well needed, that will eventually, and from the press releases, you might have heard that the water and sewer will be part of that installation, although the connection won't be made until a later date. The 207 reconstruction is slated in the next couple of years. So the majority of work that I have is slated at the Quebec Kahnawake table, and I believe I've been successful in all of these files, and I look forward to continuing on these projects. Other works that I have included is the health file, which is Ungwa Garidatsara, community services, the hospital boards, and Connecting Horizons. For the past 2 years, I've been involved with Collective Impact, more specifically the roundtable, which is included with directors from Dewaduni Zakta Community Services and the Education Center. And it's great to see the number of people who participated in the two-day presentation that was held last year at the Moose. I believe that Collective Impact is putting us in the right direction that will work to a more cohesive relationship that promotes community involvement. I look forward to working towards and building and nurturing those relationships that promotes trust, compassion, and empowerment for all of us. And I'd like to thank you for your previous support, and I hope that I can count on you again. Now, Goa.
Next on the list, Gina Deer.
Hello, everyone. It's a little funny that I'm following Rhonda because we just started to work so closely together, so it's kind of fitting, actually. This is, my second term that I'm finishing. I'm in the middle of quite a bit of work right now. I could start off with the Kahnawake and Quebec relations, a file that I work, like I said, with Rhonda. We've been working on economic development. I'm specifically holding that portfolio. We did sign an agreement around the economic development with Quebec, but very little has happened on their side, and obviously they're running into an election too, so it complicates that. So those are some of the things that I would like to continue working on. The gas tax situation is another thing that we've been working with on Quebec, and unfortunately, it's very a fragile situation, when it comes to taxes in our community. Nobody sees us, collecting for any outside government, and the outside government does not like seeing their individuals get tax exemption. So there's been a great push and pull at the table, and very little getting done, unfortunately, in those areas. Also cannabis, that's another area that I've been working on, more in the business aspect and looking at, what is out there, and if there's any possibilities for Kahnawake to get into this industry. This is a large industry. We're looking at, the legalization for recreational use, and we know that there is a great deal going on in the area of the medical. And, having attended different conferences, seeing how it actually helps people medically, it's incredible. What's scary, though, is the legalization, and where does that take us? So come October 17th, when that, recreational becomes available, there's a lot of issues for our community. So we're going to be continuing, the consultation with community, with the organizations, the individuals, and look at, is there any possibility for us? Because revenue generation is a great part of what I do. Economic development kind of just spilled into revenue generation. And in my opinion, we need to look at having a whole new portfolio just on revenue generation. We've done the ventures with Mohawk online, and we've seen some of the things that have come to the community. Most recently, was Dreams Take Flight. We've donated money. Onage had an event. We've donated money. And of course, everybody knows, the splash pad and the language program, we've been donating money in those areas. So people are feeling and seeing, these things. I've been working on, along with my portfolios, different work groups. I started with the Continent 8 negotiations. That was one of the things that I had worked on, and I tell you, that was pretty stressful. There was a lot of push and pull in that area also, between going back with the individuals with the sale and then going back with council, and it took a little bit of a toll on me, I have to say. I usually handle stress pretty well. Also working on the investment committee, looking at what we did with the sale, the monies we got, and where are we going to go with that. So I'm also part of that. I have, I guess, several things that are going on right now that I haven't completed, and that's why I'm interested in staying here and doing another term and trying to see completion on some of those things. In the beginning, I almost thought I made a mistake because it was so slow, but after 6 months and learning the ropes, I realized, it is a slow process. You can't do anything overnight. You really have to be patient. But I think one of the things that this council has done in this past term, and I'm glad to be a part of, is the team dynamics. Joe mentioned it earlier. I think it's something that we've been working on and getting accomplishment in, because at the table, when you bring forward your portfolios, you update people, there's 7 people that need to approve a decision. It's not just one person unilaterally, and that team, I think, is really important, and that's something we've started to work on. So again, I'm here tonight to say that I'm willing to work. That's the only promise I make to you, that if I am elected, I will continue to work. Nyawa.
Yay for the ladies. Bobbi Dee Deer.
KahnawakeTV, Bobbi Dee Deer, Yujats Wagatayuni. For those who don't know, my biological parents are the late Joseph Danny Delabost and the late Elise Chicky Deer. I was given up at 6 days old to my biological father's sister, Shirley Delabost and Peter B. Deer, who legally adopted me and raised me as their own. In my life, those are the parents that I only knew. My grandparents are the late Marie Phillips and the late Louis Delabost and the late James Foote and Mary Deer. I was brought up in a home of old-fashioned values and morals. I was taught to be hardworking, humble, honest, and most of all, love our community. I grew up watching my father volunteer his time coaching baseball, hockey, lacrosse, and bringing kids to Jawaradodu. My mom spent half her life as a Kahnawake teacher, teaching the majority of KahnawakeTV from the late 80s until the 2000s. They taught me what it meant to be Kahnawake. Their teachings are what shaped me into the woman I am today. I am the mother to Deus and Date. Despite the struggles of being a single mom, we persevered and we got through it together. I have brought up an exceptional young woman, and she's the reason I get up out of bed every morning. The reason I'm running is because I'm all about the people that shape our community. There's been so many things lately that have just been piling. I see that there's not much community consultation. A lot of us are left in the dark. It's like we have no voice anymore. I'm not going to waste my time up here giving you extensive list of my degrees and accomplishments. I live my life leading by example. I am present in the community, whether it's grassroots meetings, band meetings, protests, marches, volunteering, helping out community members when I can, and I even did the polar plunge. These are the things that make me a good candidate. I'm at the same level as everybody else in this room. I've talked with you and I've learned from you throughout my life, so I understand what the needs of the community are. Many who know me will tell you that I'm strong-willed, results-driven, determined, and that I'll never back down for what my beliefs in. Should you vote me in, my goals and objectives would be residency issues. I will continue to fight to uphold Mohawk law. We as Kahnawa have the right to determine who is eligible to live in our community. On social issues, I want to look at resources for single mothers and fathers, and financial stability, adequate housing, support services. I'd like to see a women's center where women can go for support, and to ensure that our elders are taken care of in the best possible way. To continue to reinforce the zero tolerance policy in Kahnawake. Our streets are overrun right now with hard drugs, and it's disgusting, and we need to do something about it. In language and culture, I'd like to ensure that there's continuous funding to go towards our language programs, such as Radiwana Nirats and Yagwizaradache Language Nest. I'd like to see more community gardens happening. We have a big one, a grassroots community garden started, and I'd like to see more of it so that eventually we can be self-sustained with our natural foods. And I'd also like more cultural education to go towards the outside. Many outsiders, and they don't understand what we've been through. It takes a lot of courage to stand here before you this evening. I just want you to know I'm not running for office, I'm running for you. It's a new generation of leaders to make Kahnawake ours again. This is the change that we need, and I hope to be the voice that you deserve. Nyawa.
Before we go to the next one, I'd like to request the audience people to at least silence their phone. You don't have to shut it off, but I was told that there's phones ringing now and then. Please have respect. Thank you. The next one is Kahsennenhawe Sky-Deer.
Just like you said, yay for the ladies. Deko nuorade da wadadega Kahsennenhawe Sky-Deer Ujats. Nyawadzi dezawe uwa wasudade kwa higadzi yori hawana. So my name is Kahsennenhawe Sky-Deer. I'm 38 years old. Wolf Clan. I've been in council for 9 years now. And first and foremost, I feel that it's important to acknowledge all of the people who supported me in the previous election in 2015. It was extremely humbling and honoring to receive the most votes out of any candidate that ran. And I hope that your faith and confidence in me derives from my ability to do the job and my consistent updates to you on the political initiatives that are pushing, Kahnawaga's best interests forward. So nyauko azuagwego. After my re-election, I continued to work on the same files that I previously held, which are membership, the Kahnawake Canada relations, heritage, and more specifically language and culture, the liaison to the Cultural Center Board, Chief's oversight on the Kahnawake Legislative Coordinating Commission, Client-Based Services Committee, as well as I'm the chairperson on the Finance, Administration, and Operations Committee, as well as the chairperson of the Kahnawake Youth Center. At the previous candidates night, I pretty much focused on a lot of my functions within these areas, but this time around I would like to focus more on some of my achievements, accomplishments, and I guess key areas that I want to mention. So as previously stated, I'm proud to announce that after 5.5 years of work we now have an amended Kahnawa of Kahnawake law, formerly known as membership. The formal reading took place last evening, and an MCR will probably enact it next week on Tuesday. So it's important to note that the 2003 membership law meshed the two issues together, being membership and residency, and I think there was a lack of enforcement which caused a lot of frustration for the community. So moving forward in 2017, as Chief Kirby mentioned, the fact that we got a mandate from the community to start the residency work, because I think that's what people are more concerned about, who is living in our community, not necessarily who qualifies to be on the Kahnawake registry. So that work will continue this summer through our community decision-making process. I've continued the fight at the Kahnawake-Canada relations table for independence and control when it comes to lands and membership from the federal government. They talk a good game. We've all heard the nation-to-nation rhetoric that's coming out of Ottawa, but honestly, their words aren't matching with the work and the progress that we would like to have seen up to this point. So if re-elected, I would like to continue this work because I'm of the opinion that Canada has no business making Indians. We know how to do that for ourselves. And we say Ungwehunwe. It's much different between Ungwehunwe and Indian. Grand Chief Joe Norton and I were invited to give a presentation to the Standing Committee on Bill S3 in December of 2016 on Parliament Hill, and we tried to convince the federal government that they could not rectify the inequities that happened over 60 years ago in the Indian Act of women marrying out and losing their status, that by one fell swoop giving everybody status was the right thing to do without any real concern of the impacts it would have on our communities. Unfortunately, it fell on deaf ears. S3 passed with clauses that went way beyond what the court had ruled in the Deschenaux decision. So now we have this looming threat. Part of what I had organized was a membership citizenship summit that took place with all of the leadership of our Iroquois communities to bring them up to speed of what's coming at us. I was a keynote speaker, and we're probably going to meet again this summer to mobilize against this threat, and it's important that all of our communities come together. I've also been working diligently with the Cultural Center and Theater Group to try to get a new building for these two entities that deserve a new and innovative home to keep up the great work that they've been doing for this community and for our future generations. I would like to thank everybody who came out last Wednesday to weigh in on a decision to give the mandate to this working group to proceed on a feasibility study by the KSS site, and more to come on this project as it progresses. I've also been involved with the collective impact. I'm now on the steering committee, and I was also a keynote speaker at the launch last May. I was instrumental in the creation of the Language and Culture Network and holding our first ever Language and Culture Fair. In the term ahead, I'm interested in continuing all this work that I've been involved in to this point, but I would really like to work on is governance reform, because we can't continue the way we have with this MCK versus traditional. We're one people, we should have one government. So with that, I hope you see the merit in all that I do for our community and that you'll support me on July 7th. Nyamako Azewagwego, Tonia Williams.
You almost had the election police after you. Next in line is Harry A. Rice.
First guy.
Kahnawake. Harry Rice. Mother is Catherine Rice. My dad's Paul Rice. I'm sure everybody in the room knows who I am. I was asked by a couple of friends to put my name in, my foot in the door, so to speak, on running for council. One of the key things that my friend asked me to, he said, talk about something that you're passionate about. I am passionate about a lot of things, soccer being one, but I'm not going to talk about soccer tonight. I'm passionate about our language, especially the Kahsennenhawe school. My kids went there. I know a lot of your kids went there, and they're struggling, really, really struggling. We have to fundraise for our kids to learn our language. There's something wrong with that. I believe that there should be funding for our kids, not our adults. I'm all for all the other programs. My daughter's 21 years old. She's in the Redonditas program. I love that. For our little kids to speak our language, their parents have to fundraise. Where is the money for those kids to go to school? I don't understand. So that's what I'm talking, why I'm standing up. And I want to speak for all those little kids. Another subject that came up is the Kahnawake Fire Department. The fire department has been instrumental. It's helped probably everybody in this room at one time or another, whether it be a fire to your house or bringing your grandma, your grandpa, or yourself to the hospital. We are there, I say, on the verge of losing everything that we have at the fire department. We need the funding, and we need the men and women to go back to the Kahnawake Fire Department. Our fire department is a volunteer fire department, and it can't be like that anymore. We have to pay our people who are putting their lives on the line for us. We have to start paying them. I will talk about sports in general, but not soccer as a specific. We need new facilities. I love that the Chase the Ace is trying to make a new facility for an indoor facility for all sports, but we also need a second ice surface. We need a swimming pool. We need a running track, an indoor running track. All these things, I think that we can come together as Ungwehue and pull through, especially for our kids. Everything that we do, Bobbi said that the reason why she wakes up is for her daughter. It's for our kids. I'm standing here. I want to fight for my kids. I want to fight for your kids. And I want to fight for the future generations' kids. I'm Harry Rice. I thank you I'm humbled by the support that I already have. And closing, I'm going to lighten it up a little bit because I almost start crying. On Monday after the elections, if I don't get in, well, I know just about everybody how you like your meat sliced. So I'll see you there.
That was pretty funny, Harry. Next is Clinton Phillips.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Clinton Phillips. My father is Kenneth Phillips. His parents were John and Charlotte Phillips. My mother is Teresa LeClaire Phillips, whose mother and father were Angus and Evelyn LeClaire Phillips. Angus and Evelyn LeClaire. I was born into the Bear Clan. So I guess a lot of you are looking at me and saying, hey, what the heck? I don't blame you. I made a speech on K103 several months back announcing that I would not be seeking re-election. And I think I need to discuss a little bit about that. I won't take too much of my 5 minutes. I don't want to spend that much time talking about my health issues. But if you want to know more, I will be on K103 next week with Luann on Tuesday. I'll touch up on it further then. Or if you want to ask me yourselves at any time, I have no problem sharing. So about a year ago, I started to really feel unwell. And I guess people who have serious ailments can relate to what I'm about to say. Around December, I started to think like I didn't have a chance to continue doing the work that I truly love doing, which is working for these people. And being as sick as I was, there was no way I could honestly stand in front of the people of Kahnawake and ask you to support me for 3 more years doing this job when I knew darn well I couldn't give 50% of myself to it, let alone 100%. So how could I therefore ask you to support me? I couldn't do it. I announced that I would be retiring from politics, and that's where that went. Long story really short, the Royal Vic found out what was wrong with me through different exams, and they started me on treatments. I had several intravenous treatments, oral medication. I'm fine. I'm back to my old me. I feel great. Now I can look at you and with a good conscience say, I'm ready to give 100% of myself and look for your support that way. I'd like to just talk about a few things that I'm very happy about what happened over this past term. You all know currently I hold the lands portfolio, which is a huge portfolio. I say it every chance I get to really pat the people on the back who work at lands, because you really don't have to worry about the best interest of your property, of Kahnawake lands in general, whether it be Kahnawake or up in Jowarodu. These people live, sleep, and eat lands issues. So everything that they do on a daily basis is for the people of Kahnawake and for the betterment of all of us. So I'm very pleased with my staff at the lands department. More recently, we're going through a land use planning. We were able to secure funding to bring different issues up and discuss. We had a conference with community members, stakeholders, if you will, and a lot of ideas and direction have come from that planning. There's several issues in regards to lands that have been problems and hurdles that we have to jump through for decades and decades and decades, i.e., undivided interest. Undivided interest, for those of you who don't know, is a result of the Indian Act and the CP system. When somebody passes away and does not leave a will, that property and home get divided by X amount of people, nearest, next of kins. So over the years, we have so much acreage that is held hostage, I guess, because of this problem that we face. So we're working diligently with Indian Affairs right now. Kahsennenhawe talked about the KCR table. I am on that table. Gus represents membership. I bring forth the lands issues. So we have 2 sectoral meetings, lands and issues, every month with the federal government to try to iron out the problems in both membership and lands. And these are some of the problems that we face at the lands table. And as Gus said, things don't happen very quickly with the federal government or the Quebec government for that matter, as Chief Kirby has just mentioned. But nevertheless, we are there fighting and forging through. Another big issue in the community, what we're doing right now is, I'm very happy to announce or remind people rather that the Recreation Bay project has been something that we've been discussing for quite some time. It's going to happen. The reality of the dollars that we're able to get allocated from funding sources in Ottawa to do the feasibility study. Don't forget, we're dealing with federal regulations. It's not ours, so we do have to play by their rules. I apologize. I guess I spoke too much about my health issues. I have to go. I'll be on K103. I just want to say, Nyamago, for all your support you've given me in the past, and I hope I can count on you again next Saturday. Thank you and good night.
Next is Lindsay Jacobs.
I would just like to start off to say that I am not running in a block. I am running on my own. With that being said, I am Lindsay Jacobs, the last daughter of Melvin Jacobs and Denise Jacobs. I graduated high school 25 years ago, did 1 year of college, and knew it was not for me. I did odd jobs around town until I realized I wanted to get into construction. I did welding, which took me into ironworking, where I graduated second in the class for 361. I did ironworking for a few years until I fell. That caused me to end my career and my dream. I came back home and started doing book work where I decided that it was time to get my certificate in accounting, and I did. I now work at the Caisse Populaire in town for the last 8 years. In the last 18 years, I've been on the short-term credit board for the hospital to be accredited. I was on that board for 1.5 years. I was on ABC board for 2 terms. The last term, I was chair of the board. I am one of the organizers for the ice racing for the last 5 years. My passion right now is Dreams Take Flight. This is my 4th year working with them, a nonprofit organization where more than 60 children from this community have benefited from this program. And within the last 2 years, we've also brought children from Aguasasne and last year from Wendake. I'm seeking counsel to find out what happens behind those closed doors. The same reason I went work at the Caisse Populaire. I wanted to know what happened behind those closed doors, to see how they function and how they work as a whole, to give people a better understanding of what goes on. I'm interested in the gaming because of the new electronic gaming devices that will be coming in as a pilot project for 3 years. I want to know where that $2 million is going to come from, what they're going to do with it. I spoke to a counselor and asked, has council already decided where that money was going to be allotted, or were they just thinking about it? I was told one of the things they were going for was education. I figured, yes, okay, education is a good place to start. But what about our elders? I was told, and I almost cried when they told me this, there's an elder in this community who lived off of ham for 2 weeks because that's all they could afford. They finally got the person on the food basket. But how many other elders out there are living like that we don't know about? I think council should allot some of that $2 million, which will be $6 million over 3 years, to the elders. Because if it wasn't for the elders, we would not be here today. And that's who we have to look out for. I understand we have younger generations out there, we should also be looking out for them, but we should also be taking care of our elders. I make no promises on what I can and cannot do in council because I do not know what portfolios I will be receiving and what I will be responsible for. The most I can say to you is that I work for you, and at the end of the day, should I be elected, I will do the best of my ability for whatever portfolios I'm responsible for in order to fill my obligation to the community. Thank you.
Next is Dawn Melissa Montour.
Wat Kahnawà Kahnawake sagat zitsonda niojats. Waxkarewage dehana garine zi nigogot ziroda. Hello Kahnawake. How are you tonight? I'm very thankful and happy to be here with you this evening. My name is Dawn Melissa Montour. I'm a political consultant and a legal services specialist. I was born and raised here. My parents are Don Lahash and James Montour. I have a 20-year-old son, and his name is Bryant Montour LeBlanc. With him is my wonderful daughter-in-law-to-be, Haley Morris. I'm married to Wadja Lazar. Together, we work hard every day as entrepreneurs and employ as many families and single moms as we can. We always try to accommodate our employees around their families because we know what it is to be away from our families just to be able to provide for them. As a single mother for a long time, I know what it is to struggle with school, work, balancing out your duties and obligations as a parent. We know the hardships of employment dry spells and the cost of sporting activities. We know what it means to sacrifice. We know what hard work and dedication means because nothing was handed to us on a silver platter. That builds character, that builds work ethics. When you work hard at something and you get it, you appreciate and respect it more. When things are just given to you, we tend to just say, cool. But that doesn't teach you anything, and you don't gain anything from it. Our community was built on these very sacrifices our men and women have made toward our future generations. By excelling in the fields of construction, our men are world-renowned as ironworkers and tradesmen. By fighting for and exercising our inherent rights in trade and commerce, mainly tobacco at this time, our continuous duty to protect our homeland, the list goes on. We know we're good. We always strive for the best because we are the best. We are the keepers of the Eastern Door for a reason. Don't ever forget what our ancestors fought for. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. Now we must keep fighting like them for our children and our grandchildren. Our children are precious, and we would do anything for them. So why not give our best efforts and start paving their way, always seeking advice from our elders? They have so much knowledge and experience to share. They carry our language and are always happy to pass it down in Kahnawà. This is what it's all about, folks. This is how we function in our society. Everyone has a responsibility and a role to play. Now it's time for us that are sitting here before you to start taking on the tasks of governance and the order of doing things. So before you start, we have to all do this together. We have to keep that mindset. We have to work together. I will work with everybody in this community. I can only promise one thing, and that's I will work hard and do my best to advance our people and our community's interests. This is our home. We will grow and prosper together by expanding our horizons in more ways than one. We have a justice system in its infancy, and together we're going to strengthen it to enforce all Mohawk law. We will validate our own economic needs, we will maintain our own family and social affairs, and we will do this together by securing our jurisdiction and exercising our inherent rights. And when we do this, we are going to be unstoppable. Our youth of today are uniquely gifted and extremely intelligent. So why not tailor educational needs to give them better opportunities for their future employment? Fight for more funding. Fight for more programs and services to ensure student success ratios they soar. Education doesn't always mean a degree from a university. It can also be a trade. We all know some people are hands-on, and we will fight to make sure that they get funded for any trade. We will fight for our children, because our children are the leaders and builders of tomorrow. So let's make sure we give them everything we've got. In closing, we come from a long history of people who have fought hard and won. I'm for more jobs, increasing social aid to the cost of living, increased funding for our elders, more education, a better system of governance, and that benefits all of Kahnawake. With your support, we will do this together. Your support is greatly appreciated. Nyawagoa, and thank you for your time, and good luck to everybody.
Next on the list, David A. Diabo.
Say good on what going on our news ever going. The Hawanuja Ujets, Kahnawake, Ganyagihagi, Kahnawake need to again. Good evening, everybody. My name is David Diabo. My father is Matthew Diabo, my mother is Margaret Thomas. I have 6 brothers and 5 sisters. Many of you know who they are. I've lived here in Kahnawake all my life, but I left for a while, like most of the men, to do iron work in the United States, commuting back and forth between home and work and family. I'm working currently for the Assembly of First Nations as their special advisor on emergency management. I've done 3 years working for INAC at the time, Indigenous Services Canada now, as program manager for their non-structural mitigation and emergency preparedness funding envelope. I've also worked for the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake as their safety inspector on the Mercier Bridge for 3 years. I have recent distinctions in occupational health and safety, emergency management, and Indigenous policy and administration from Carleton University. I plan to add public safety within 2 years, a master's degree. What do I offer you as a candidate? Experience, education, and transparency. Honesty, integrity, openness, ambition, drive. Basically, I offer all my knowledge, skills, and ability. I believe that adaptation equals resilience equals sustainability. We wouldn't be here today if our ancestors didn't adapt to their environment. I believe what Gus believes, that we have to protect our inherent rights. We have to adapt to the coming environment. With the devolution of federal responsibilities to the provincial regions, we'll have no one left to go back to, bring our cases to. We'll have to deal with the provinces, and the provinces don't care about our rights. I've seen this from my experience working for the government. They can't wait for us to be assimilated. So protecting our inherent rights are important. It's probably more important than any file that is going right now. I'm also interested in improving the current conditions in Kahnawake, and that includes labor, public safety mostly because I have a background in occupational health and safety and emergency management. Lands, housing, we're critically short in housing, but we're critically short in lands also. If we have more land, we could have more housing, more industry, more jobs. So economic development is something that I'm also interested in. And with that comes employment. Also, the citizenship that Gus spoke about is important. Because as everybody knows, there's lots of groups out there. There's at least 3 groups currently developing that are creating their own cards and asking for their own rights as a distinct group. And one of them actually does have their own cards now. The rest are all promoting their fake cards. And we have to protect ourselves from this because they undermine our rights and identity as Indigenous people. With this, I think we should examine the issue from all sides. We know what our community wants. We have to make sure that that's a concrete issue for us, that there's no question about it. The Band Council, of course, will promote that to the federal government, who, as I said, is going to devolve it to the provinces. So we're really just talking to the provinces about who we are and what we are and promoting that and trying to keep that alive. Some of the other things that I think we should really be looking at is like cannabis. This is going to bring some benefits through maybe employment, creation, economic development, but it's also going to bring some drawbacks. If you think back to the days of alcohol prohibition, this is basically the same thing. And we've already seen what the kind of effect drugs has on our community. So whatever we decide, we have to make sure that we enforce it. We can't just promote the ideology of one sector of the community over the community right. As a community as a whole, we should be protecting ourselves and our communities. In any case, I welcome all support from you, and thank you everybody for coming out.
Next on the list is Tonya Perron.
Nikwe, and good evening. Thank you all for coming tonight. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Tonya Perron. My mother is Rhonda Phillips. Many of you know her as Lulu. My father is Roger Perron. I'm married to Thomas Lahash, aka Tommy, and we have two sons together, aged 9 and 12. I'm a graduate of McGill Law in 1995. I graduated with 2 law degrees from the national program, it was called at the time. And since 1997, I've been in private practice, criminal lawyer in this community. I was a teacher for a number of years at John Abbott College. I taught police technology to the Aboriginal students. In fact, I taught some of the peacekeepers that we have on the force today. I've spoke at a number of conferences on various topics. I'm currently also a prosecutor in Akwesasne for ethical complaints against council chiefs, and I've been doing that for the last 10 years. I also sit on the Native Roundtable in the District of Valleyfield, where we discuss issues involving Indigenous offenders within the legal system. It mostly applies to Akwesasne, but of course the issues are spread across the board. When I decided to go to law school, I did that with the vision that I would one day become a lawyer and I would represent our people in a system that was not familiar to them, and a system that to me didn't seem to be too considerate of our culture and our distinctiveness. For 21 years, I've had the pleasure of representing community members, not only from this community, but also from our sister community of Akwesasne. For those of you that know me, you know who I am, you know what I'm about, and you know what I've given to this community over the last 21 years. For those of you that don't know who I am, well, this is who I am. I am someone who has served on our community for many years in one form or another. Granted, I've never worked for council or any of the council organizations. I may not have participated in community meetings or CDMP meetings, due to mostly my court scheduling, but that doesn't mean that I have not been actively involved in community matters, and that does not mean that I am not aware of the issues facing our community and our people. Many people are not aware that in the early years of my practice, I devoted countless hours of my time volunteering for the alternative dispute resolution as a restorative justice facilitator. Following that, I went on to volunteer my time as an arbitrator. I've also spent countless hours providing assistance to anyone in need in our community, often without expecting anything in return except for a simple thank you. I've offered elders and individuals with little to no financial means free advice when I could. I'm not asking you guys for a pat on the back. I'm simply asking that everyone understand what I'm about and what I've been doing all these years in practice. Yes, to some, I may be just a criminal lawyer, but that has entailed more than meets the eye. As a criminal lawyer representing Indigenous clients, I've had to deal with more issues than a lawyer representing the general population. I've had to fight for the outside courts to recognize the jurisdiction of our peacekeepers over that of the SQ with respect, to the policing of our major highways within our surrounding territory. I've had to battle with the provincial and federal governments over matters relating to the tobacco industry. Recently, I've been assisting in resolving an issue regarding lack of funding for long-term private alcohol and drug treatment for our people. I've had to push for the courts in Quebec to adhere to sentencing principles that are set out in the law that require them to pay particular attention to the circumstances of Aboriginal offenders, something they should have been doing since 1999, but unfortunately were not. It took many years of effort and persistence to finally get Quebec courts to understand this and the bureaucracy of the government to catch up to the law. So when you ask, why am I running and what can I do for this community if I'm elected, please consider what I have just told you. consider the fact that I've already been representing community interests, but on a different level. I've been limited in what I've been able to do from my office desk and as one person. Being elected to council would give me the opportunity to address community issues on another level, all with the support of the community and the other members of council behind me. So I hope to see you on July 7th, and I hope to have your vote. Nyawa.
Next on the list is Lindsay Leborgne.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lindsay Leborgne. I was born in 1958 in New York. I went to school there, elementary school and high school. My mom and dad are Patricia Deer and Ronald Leborgne, both deceased now. I have a brother, Adam Leborgne. I'm married to Margie Jacobs. I have 2 children, Brittany Leborgne and Wazokoyosta Leborgne. After I finished high school in 1975, I joined the U.S. Navy. I was a member of the U.S. Navy for 4 years. I was discharged honorably in 1979. In 1980, I joined the Peacekeepers. They had just come into force, so to speak. I was on there at 2 different times in my life for a total of about 3 years. I also went to Ironworker apprenticeship program in Local 40. I graduated. This year I celebrate my 35th year as a member. However, I've only worked in the business for 19 of those 35 years. I was also a member of the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake from 1992 to 2006. After losing the election in 2006, I went back to Ironwork, where I've been since then. My mom passed away in February of this year, so I came back to unravel all the things that you have to do as the executor of the estate. I was talking to some friends of mine one night, and they had mentioned to me, there's an upcoming election in town, and why didn't I think about, running for a council member again? So I thought that after all those years that I was on, I'll tell you what, when you lose an election, it's not a nice feeling. And I thought that I still had more to give the community, and so I decided to put my name in again. There's a lot of things, as we all know, that are coming up. The legalization of marijuana. They just passed the membership law. There's lands. There's all sorts of problems that we have. I think that with all the experience I've had over my lifetime in different jobs, different organizations, dealing with different peoples, that I still can make a contribution to the community. So therefore, I put my name back in. I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. I know we're going to be taking questions later on, so I'll pass it on to another candidate. Thank you very much.
Next on the list is Lloyd Phillips.
Good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. My name is Lloyd Phillips. I'd like to start off by first thanking my wife, Wendy, for all the support over the years, as well as the nomination for this election, as well as Kevin Zachary, a good friend of mine who seconded the nomination. So I appreciate the support. I'm Lloyd Phillips. I'm 48 years old. My parents are Stuart Phillips, Alice Montour Phillips. Like I said, I've been married to Wendy Walker for almost 27 years. I have 2 daughters, Amanda Lee and Ashlyn Gubbies Phillips. Well, I have a total of 16 years of experience being on council. I was first elected in 1996. I was only 26 years old. I served 10 years, and then I decided not to seek re-election in 2006. I went to work at the Kahnawake Fire Brigade as a paramedic. And I also worked for a couple of years at the Assembly of the First Nations of Quebec and Labrador as a political advisor. I was re-elected in 2009 and remained there until 2015, the last election. And I could stand before you and be confident to say that I still have a lot to give to the community, and my desire to be back at the council table has never been stronger. When I was deciding what to speak about tonight, it was very difficult. There's so many issues. We could sit here all evening and speak one after the other. Because if I went around the room and asked each and every one of you, what is the most important issue in Kahnawake? As many people in the room here, I may get that many different answers. Some will say it's jobs. Some will talk about language and culture. Some will talk about education. Some will talk about our elders and our children. All very, very important issues. Now, some will talk about a certain jurisdiction and protecting our rights. Again, very important issues. And the council has to understand and realize that to you, as the community member, that is the most important issue. And council has to reflect that and find a way to balance the fact that we have individuals who have certain desires, as well as we have the big picture jurisdictional issues that we have to deal with. A balance between the individual rights and collective rights, the balance between pushing the big jurisdictional issues, but ensuring we don't leave the individuals who need the help, we're not leaving them behind. Because I guarantee you, the person who's struggling to make it day to day, the person who's trying to make sure that they're paying their bills, their biggest concern is not the Justice Act. Their biggest concern is getting a job and paying those bills. And we need a council that's going to be able to be diverse and address these issues as they come forward from the community. And as I said in the past, I believe everybody has a role to play. Now, I have a wide variety of interests. I've been involved in health and social service issues. I've been involved with policing in the past, public security, and intergovernmental relations. I've been actively involved with the Kahnawake Fire Brigade for over 20 years. And one project I'm currently working on for the Kahnawake Fire Brigade, I'm spearheading a project that will get additional resources to support the paramedics and the ambulance service so that they can better provide coverage for our people. It's very crucial. Also, the development of a paramedic training program to train and certify Kahnawake medics to operate and run within our community. To train and certify Kahnawake medics, this will be the first time anywhere in Canada this will take place. I'm very proud to be part of this, and I'm very proud of the fact I'm working hand in hand with my daughter on this project. We can sit here all night and talk about many issues, but what I just want to maybe kind of sum it up by saying, first and foremost, I've been involved in this community my entire life, whether it be a volunteer with the Kahnawake Fire Brigade, whether it be at various boards and committees. I am committed to the community. But everything we do and everything we are as a people boils down to three things: our rights, our responsibility, and respect. We need to have protection for our rights, we need to be responsible with those rights, and we have to have respect, because without respect, we have nothing. Yamagoa.
Next on the list is Lindsay Jacobs.
How's everybody doing? Who am I? I guess I'll have to say that I'm a lucky man. I knew 6 of 8 of my great-grandparents. I knew all my grandparents. I still have one grandmother who's 94. I have my parents, I got myself, I have my daughter, I have a grandson, so I'm lucky. And I was able to talk to my great-grandparents, and I heard all the stories. Some were good, some were bad. And that's what's inspiring me to be back here again. My great-grandfather, we used to take him for a ride sometimes, and we used to go out into the outskirts, into the scenery lands, and he used to always tell us, you see that road there, that's the boundary. You see the line here, that's the boundary. It's not this little piece of land that we're sitting on. We never gave it up. He always said it was ours right from the beginning, you know. So for me, there's only one issue that I want to work on. It's that one. I'd like to see us repatriate that land back to the community. There's only one way to do it. I think we got to force the issue. You know, we're afraid of taxation here. It's an issue that, you know, if you look at it, could be coming at some point in time. You know, you get little bills for this, little bills for that. You know, at some point in time, what are they going to say? Well, instead of us making 6, 7 little bills, let's make one big bill, and here you are, and there we go. We're being taxed. I believe in taxation, but the only ones that should be taxed are all those people that are living on our lands on the outside, on the outskirts. And we should be sending letters to the 3 levels of government, municipal, provincial, and federal, telling them that we expect to be paid for those lands that are being used illegally all these years. And if they don't want to pay us, then we should be taking back those lands. And we got to be serious about it. I think it's an issue that most in this community would agree on and that would fight for. I know I would put everything I got into it. I've done this before. I've worked in a lot of portfolios. Last time I was in for 4 terms, and that's one of the problems I think I had at that point. I was trying to do too much. If I would go there this time, there's only one issue I would work on, it would be that one. We need some kind of relief to all these little problems that we do have in this community. You know, I look at them as symptoms of a problem. But what's the problem? There's always one big problem that's lying there. And to me, that's what we need. We need some relief. We need lands that we're able to use. Look at the issues that we just had in the past. You know, it's not one group against the other. It's everybody's fed up with different things. You know, there's so many problems that we do have. We got to deal with them. That's all right, but we need to do other things too. We need to fight these big issues. I think we've been playing tiddlywinks with the government for just too long now. You know, we got to deal with it directly, and if you want somebody that's going to do that, then remember my name on July 7th. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Next on the list is Martin T. Leborgne.
My name is Martin Leborgne. I'm asking to be re-elected for council. My passion is housing, and I want to get back on because I feel I didn't do enough in the housing. The past 2 terms that when I got on housing, just a quick, we got rent to equity, 15 homes. We got Give Me Shelter for single men, 4 homes. We got the Hope program, 8 homes. We got the semi-detached, that was 14 units, that's 28 homes. And I want to get back on to do more because there's not enough being done in the way of social housing. We have the money in our budget, so we have to get it out to where it belongs and to get it back into the community to help build houses for the young people and the elderly coming up too. They need new homes, they need new places to stay, like adding on to the Elders Lodge, or even they're even asking for like condominium style homes to where you can just relax and pay rent and not have to do yard work and all that. So we're talking about that at the housing too. It might be on the chart for the future. But before I finish this, I'd like to say thank you, and it was an honor to work with the past council. I really appreciate it. I think we had a good team, and I'd like to acknowledge Kenneth McCumber, Arlene Jacobs, and Christine Zachary for their service. They're retiring. Good luck in their future, and good luck to everybody here. So that's what I want to do, is to get back on and push for housing and to revisit some of the housing policies, because Christine is talking about a museum. I think that's where some of our policies need to go, because they're so old and outdated. They're like dinosaurs. They need to be revisited and reworked so it'd be more, I guess, more workable and more useful for the community to get stuff, instead of, for me, they're like, they sound like they're geared to deny. But we need to change them to give community more access to what they belong, what they're entitled to. So we're just with that, and I'm not going to take too long because there's other people here. I hope that you take the time and think and re-elect me. I'm your voice. I always been your voice. I'm not scared to talk. Any issue is not too small, not too big. I'll bring your concerns to the table. So, July 7th, vote for Martin Leborgne. Thank you very much.
Next on the list, William J. Diabo.
Sego, everybody. Jordanate Yujuts. My name is William Billy Diabo. My father's Michael Angus Diabo Sr. My mother is the late Carol Delarone. Sorry, still hurts. She passed away in 07. And one thing I would like to ask, actually, Angus, a quick question first. Since Joe's already in, does he have to sit up here with us the whole time? Or can you go and watch? Thank you. Where to start? This date and here that I've been looking at for quite some time now, checking on it, listening on it, and I wrote so many drafts to be here and so many things to do that, and then I realized it's not about the drafts, it's not about all that, it's all about being true and speaking from your heart. On that, with the portfolio I'm gonna have to start with is with the border. The border is a tremendous one. It's not 9 to 5. Our people cross day and night. Our people have issues day and night. But I believe in working with them. And with the border and working with them, I deal with Homeland Security. I deal with the Border Patrol. I deal with CBSA. Right now, CBSA is the better one to work with because of, well, we all know who's in charge on the other side, but anyway, with that, to me, one important thing that I got to with CBSI also is that they are willing, and we worked it out, where they will be taking sensitivity training from for their job over there to deal with our community members that pass on a regular basis. I had spoken with a community member who told me and knew about this, that I had actually had them agree to go into the sensitivity training, which when they had first started, they said they were going to Aguasasne, and they have over 2,000 CBSA agents. And they told me that Aguasasne said it was $1,000 an agent, $1,000 a person to take care of it. And someone in town came to me and said that they are able to give the sensitivity training so we can have an easier time crossing. And to me, it's important. And we will be meeting with CBSA on Thursday, July 5th in the afternoon. On that part, looking at with the borders and stuff that's going on there, which affects all our rights in every way, shape, or form. It affects our crossing rights, it affects everything. And they drew these lines here. These lines do not belong there. We all know that. On that, it's a good fight. But it's a fight on and I got 3 of them against me and council. It's council, it's not me, it's council. We do everything together. Council is all one. We work as a team. On that, with Homeland and Security, it's not that too bad because I have worked it out with them a lot. I have pushed things and worked with things, and they agree and they welcome us. And on that part, I've been there all hours. I've even had CBSA call me to do these things. To me, that's really important. On that part also, tying in with the border crossing still, because it's a big file. And this affects a lot of us. To me, on working with that, I'm looking at the immigration issue. With council's permission, I proceeded to work out and making arrangements with the government, and I have received information back on that from Trudeau's office that we will be absolutely looking at this to talk about that, to eliminate us from the immigration issue. We don't need to be on there. There's so many things on the border crossing issues with dealing with one-on-one personal basis with a lot of people. I've had elders detained for mistaken identity. Can't happen. I've had elders arrested for that same thing. I've had so many where treatment of even some of our chiefs when they cross to deal with. And I see some faces in here that people that I did deal with on that. To me, that's one of the toughest files on there because it just goes beyond everything, including, oh my God. Even like with the Micmacs, that's hurting our rights. I'm working with the peacekeepers and everything to deal with that situation. It's all in the, I don't got enough time. Really, everything that I got going, along with Joe Rodo, I've moved several encroachments. I've working on other accesses. Okay. Look, I believe in you guys, and I hope you believe in me. We here at the council are all for you guys. We are your voice. I hope you always, and my door is always open. I hope you will always be there. Sorry. Yeah.
Next on the list is Louis Stacey.
Good evening, everybody. For those of you who know me, you know me. For those of you who don't, my name is Louis Stacey. I am the eldest son of the late Peter Delbert Stacey and Helen Patricia Messina. She was more commonly known as Tootsie Stacey in Kahnawake. I, too, was born in 1958 in the area of Brooklyn, which we come to know as Little Kahnawà. In 1961, my mother and father moved back to real Kahnawake, or real Kahnawà, and I grew up here since. I was also a U.S. Navy veteran for 4 years. When I was honorably discharged from the U.S. Navy, I came back to Kahnawake. I lived here for a year. I worked in St. Anne de Bellevue at John Abbott College for a little while, and then I joined the Ironworkers Union in June of 1981. So I've been a union ironworker for 37 years. 8 of those years, I've been working with the Mohawk Council. First, starting out with the Community Protection Unit from 2010 to 2015 or 16 as the Occupational Safety and Health Coordinator. Then when the Kahnawake Labor Office opened, I moved over to the Kahnawake Labor Office, and my new job title is currently the Occupational Safety and Construction Manager. We've worked as a team in the Kahnawake Labor Office quite hard to get where we're at from where we were back in 2014 when the Kahnawake Labor Agreement with Quebec was signed. We went from having 0 programs to a program now which is functional. It's not the best program out there, but like all areas, it needs continuous work and upgrading. And we're moving along very well with it. During my time working with the Mohawk Council, I've worked with my team to develop training programs which assisted our people from Kahnawake in gaining employment not only in Kahnawake or in Quebec, but across Canada and the United States. Out west in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, those provinces recognize safety training that we've conducted here through the Kahnawake Department of Occupational Safety and Health, and that is the first time ever that Kahnawake has been put on the map, I would say, in occupational safety and health outside of Kahnawake itself. So we're moving along very good in that area. Why am I running for a council seat? It's simple. To work for the people, to help the people of this community, not only in labor or safety or emergency response, emergency situations, but in all areas where I could be productive and offer my assistance in developing or improving on the programs that we currently have. During my time being, in Kahnawake, I've participated on the radio station board of directors. I was the past president of Mohawk Branch 219, which is, as most of us know, is an organization that supports our local veterans. I've also, I'm an active participant at the community meetings, and I like to get involved in all areas of what is important to our community. And if I am elected to take one of the seats at the council table, I will take that responsibility and hold it in very high esteem and work very diligently to satisfy most of your needs. I know we cannot satisfy all of everyone's needs, but the harder that we work, the harder that we try, we can bring the people in this community closer together where we could move forward in a faster fashion to benefit all of the people in our community. So with that being said, I want to thank you for coming out tonight, and good luck to all my fellow candidates on July 7th, and thank you very much.
Next on the list is Ross Montour.
I'm under orders to speak loudly and clearly, so if anybody needs me to speak louder in the back, just raise your hands and I'll do my best. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's an honor to be here. to be considered by the community, by you people, to hold a position on the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake. I want to acknowledge and thank all of the people who are running. It's not an easy thing, I think, to come up and put yourself before the community and say, well, I think I should be considered to be on council. It's really for you. It's not about us. It's about all of us, really. That's how I see it. And I want to tell you something. I had the opportunity 3 years ago to run. And one of the reasons I ran was I was so frustrated with the fact that we had laws, like the membership law, for instance, but we didn't have the means to. I don't even want to use the word enforce it. I want to say support it. And there was not anything in place that would, at that time, say give people a course for redress. And unfortunately, that meant we had a case that went out to a Quebec court, a Canadian court, and we know how that turned out. And they, of course, look at things from the perspective of individual rights over and above collective rights. And so it couldn't go in our favor. And that's one of the problems. So, but coming back to run, it was interesting. Today I got a message from Mr. Bonspill, and he sent me a question. He said, well, this is the question we're asking all the candidates. What do you feel you bring to the table of if elected to the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake? What I wrote to him was, what I will bring to the table is a clear, sober, and open mind, focused on working as a member of a team of individuals whose goals are aimed at advancing the needs and aspirations of Kahnawake socially, economically, and politically. I possess a working understanding of the issues facing Kahnawake both internally and externally. More than ever, there is a profound need for us as a community to lay aside divisions within so that we may gather united strength to face the challenges coming from the outside. This demands, though, engaging with the community in a meaningful dialogue. The last time I ran, it was important to me that I be nominated by women from the community, because in our traditions, it's the women who raise the children, it's the women who take care of the homes, and traditionally, it's the women who select the leaders to speak for the people. And I went to my nominator who nominated me the last time, and one of the things she said was, "Agi Russ, I don't even know if I'm going to vote this time." And the reason is that she says, "I don't feel like people are being heard." So for me, I took that to heart, and that's one of the things that I'm committed to, is the idea of we need to have a dialogue with one another. People in Kahnawake are very, very passionate. You're passionate about things like the cultural center. We're also passionate about our lands, what little we have, what green spaces we have, and we saw that play out very passionately in the last few weeks. But what came out of it, I think, was a positive, because in one way or another, the community spoke to a great extent. It gave a very loud and clear direction to allow for the completion of the feasibility study for Cultural Center and a community theater, which has been without a home now for too many years. They need that. We have a lot of sports in the community, which is excellent, but we have many children and even adults who have benefited from the theater program in the past. People who wouldn't even think about being able to come up here and speak. But through that program are unable to do that. I know I hear the thing going off. I will be on the radio also. I just want to say that one of the things that really, for me, to run and be a part of a team, I have spoken in my role as host of Watar and the Party Line Talk Show, different people with different portfolios from the Mohawk Council, the chiefs. And the things that we have talked about have had to do with land, they've had to do with our membership, they've had to do with our jurisdiction, which really is ours to decide, all of those things. I'd be honored. I left out my parents. My parents are the late Matthew Guerrero Montour, who was also known as the General, and his first wife, Blanche Shanks Montour. I want to thank you for the opportunity. And if you think of it, you didn't do that to the rest of it.
You locked him in a good mood. Next on the list is Robert Patton Jr.
Good evening, everyone. Well, my name is Robert Patton Jr. My dad is Robert Patton Sr. My mom is Beverly Montour. It's very difficult. She passed away 5 months ago. She was my biggest supporter. What have I been working on for the last pretty much the 6 years? I've been involved in the public safety, public security of Kahnawà with the peacekeepers and everything to do with public safety. I've been on housing, assisting other chiefs on the many, many issues that we're facing. Excuse me. But most of all, I've been involved with the Iroquois Caucus over the last 6 years. The Iroquois Caucus has been very active in fighting for our rights as Native peoples. One of the ones that that have really got involved in over the past year and a half was the Iroquois Caucus Working Group. Back in November, a year and a half ago, we had some natives from Akwesasne, from our brother and sister community, that were arrested for hunting. And around the same time, we had an individual from Kahnawà who was also arrested for fishing not far from here. And in that time, when we were looking at what we should do, we approached our council and we had full support. So we created the Harvest Working Group. Reason for that was we needed to protect our harvesting rights, such as hunting, fishing, trapping, and all the medicines that are close to us. We had to revive all the treaties. We're trying to revive the treaties because that's who we are. And it seems like the governments today don't recognize these treaties, and they don't give us the recognition of who we are as First Nations people. We are diligent working with other First Nations in the protection of these treaties and protection of our rights. Some people may not think it's very important, but these rights are who we are and where we came from. Without them, we are not the First Nations of people who we are. So right now, when we defended the Mohawks of Akwesasne on the court cases that were being challenged, but when we put as the Mohawk Council of Kahnawà, with the support and with the push from the Iroquois Caucus and with the assistance of other First Nations, we were able to have the case withdrawn from the New Brunswick court. And also one of our own local residents, we assisted them in also having their case thrown out of court because they recognized our rights as First Nations people. The reason why I'm very passionate about it is because the provincial government is continuously trying to extinguish our rights as First Nations people. If we don't put up the fight, then we're not going to be left with anything that we have today. Then we're going to lose who we are. One of the biggest one was the AO claims that had a vote that recognized many people who are really basically not even Native, that they recognize their vote, their rights, and that we have to stand up and fight for, because if the province continues to do such a thing, we're going to have that issue here in Kahnawà. All our land claims that are going to be what we're fighting for is going to be diminished, because if they recognize and allow these non-Native people to vote in something that important to us, we're going to lose in the end. So we got to stand up and fight. That's where we're at right now. It was said by one of the other candidates about drug rehab issues. That has been recent, and it's been very difficult for many of our community members. We have many addictions that have followed us for many years, and we have to stand beside our community members. And I've myself and another individual, Tonya Perron, have been working on a group of several other people with several lawyers that we are needed to fight this with the Quebec government, because at the end of the day, the Quebec government is looking at it as for me, it's a racist issue. They don't recognize who we are, but we have to stand up and show them who we are and get the recognition to help our people to get to a better place. Yeah.
Next on the list is Carl Horn.
First, I want to wish good luck to all the potential candidates here tonight, especially the new ones. This is my fourth candidate's night. The first was in 2009, and it's just like it was in 2009. We're just as nervous. Just a little bit about myself, if they don't know me. My father's Joe Horn, my mother's Bonnie Cross, my spouse is Angie Marquis, and we have 3 children, 24-year-old Kai Horn, 21 Cam Horn, and soon to be 18 Kendall Horn. Over the course of the last 21 years, I was fortunate enough to work for the community, so I know what they expect and deserve. 12 years as a police officer and the last 9 as a council chief. There's times where I'm brash and I'm outspoken, but at the end of the day, sometimes the council table needs that. I don't mean it in a negative way or be personal towards anybody. That's just the way I am, and sometimes there's healthy opposition to the council table. That's usually me. I just want to speak about a couple of the last files I worked on over the course of the last 3 years, specifically sports and recreation, and acknowledge a few people that helped me accomplish some of those things. The first, obviously, was mentioned earlier tonight, the splash pad and the Orville stand-up Memorial Playground. We were very fortunate enough to partner up with 90% of the funding coming from the business people in the community to make that place as beautiful as it is now, and I'm glad to see as many community members enjoy it, as well as the work that's been done at the Kahnawake Sports Complex. Without the help of my sister-in-law, Carly Onoradoka Marquis, who is the brains behind finding the money to make that arena look the way it is now, both inside and outside. She did a lot of work to find the funding to make that arena the way it is today. Moving on to the Kahnawake file. That's probably one of the most difficult files that I worked on due to the complexity of the lease that we're currently dealing with. Obviously, it's over 100 years old, that golf course, and the current lease that we're dealing with now was signed in the 70s. And my biggest thing when I got on the file was most importantly, transparency with community, especially the individual landholders. When that thing was signed in the 70s, I'm not sure if they were fully well aware of what they were signing. I want to make sure that when we move forward, when the new lease expires in 2021, that not only the community, but as well as the individual landowners are fully well aware of all the details in the file. I was very fortunate enough to work with technician Lindsay Jacobs, and I want to acknowledge her. She does a lot of work on the Kahnawake file. We were able to find funding to do the consultation project that was done over the course of the last 3 years. And we were able to hire Linda Delormier, who did a lot of work behind the scenes to make that possible. Once again, to be fully transparent with community, especially the individual landholders, moving forward on that most important file, which over the course of the next year is going to be very key, finalizing that file. Moving on to the train station project. 3 years ago, I brought that up here to try and make sure we make life easier for our people, especially our young people going over to school in the city. We were able to make some headway on the project, but we just couldn't get past the one-year pilot project that we were able to negotiate. We had concerns about after the 1 year, the financial commitment that the community has to make that train station feasible for our people. A lot of good work, again, Lindsay Jacobs did on that file to get it to where it is now. So I'm hoping, if I'm re-elected, to definitely get back on that file over the course of the next years. And finally, one of the other projects that I worked on was the Kahnawake Workforce Inclusion Plan when it came to the new works on the Champlain Bridge, which was very successful. It was probably one of the most rewarding experiences that I had, especially being involved with partner up with Demu Zakta to form an iron workers program for our younger generation of iron workers. It was, a lot of them were very fortunate to graduate and be able to find work, not only on the Champlain Bridge, but in and around the city of Montreal. So that was one of the probably the rewarding file I had. Moving forward, I'm hoping to work on those 4 files, especially with the upcoming works with the Mercier Bridge. I'm hoping once again, Demazak also started another ironworking program to put a lot of these kids to work there, hopefully, and make sure they not only get the money that they deserve, but to make sure they work right here in their backyard. Now.
Next on the list, Timmy J. Montour.
Hello, everybody. I've finally got up here. First of all, my name is Timmy J. Montour, not K. Montour. And my mother is Ida Deer, and my father's Leonard Montour. I gotta be honest right now, I'm a little uncomfortable being up here because I'm not used to promoting myself. What I do for the love for the community and everybody in it. So it's new for me. And with that, for the last 16 years, I learned who we are as a people by learning the traditional way through people passed down, not from Concordia or anything else. So this is why, since then, I've been doing my best to fight for the rights, our collective rights, and everything who we are. And that's why I'm here. I started the slogan, Time for Change, 6 years ago, and the site. And at the time, I was thinking that time for change just meant council, because everybody seems to be against council. But over in the last few years, I learned that everybody needs to change, and so do I. That's why I'm here. Because I was more a traditional-minded person as I learned who I was. I was raised Christian, but I learned and I accepted, and it's a beautiful way of life. So the biggest hurdle I had for everything, I done the best I could. I'm not used to, like I said, promoting myself. I done the best I could to fight for our rights in every way. And I try to get people to participate. Like, we got thousands of people in town here, and I only see a few hundred. People don't vote, people don't stand up. And they tell me, what's the use to me? Why do you do it? Why do you fight for your rights? Why do you protest? Because that's your duty as a Mohawk. That's what you're supposed to do. It's your responsibility to look out for the collective and our inherent rights. And that's what I want to do. So even me being up here changed my way of thinking, because the traditional-minded people say, I'll be outside the circle or whatever. But I don't believe that, and because you can never change your identity. So you're always going to be who you are, no matter what stance you have. And one of the things I want to help is bridge the gap between each other. We talk about issues of this, that, weed, whatever. That's not important. The big issue is the divisions and the mistrust and even hate. You know, I've only been, I got nominated 3 weeks ago, and I've been accused of so many things, so I understand what they go through. And I'm not even on council yet. Whatever I do, they say, you're doing it for this reason. I got a new car, a friend helped me out. They said, did somebody buy you that car? So this is the biggest problem we have. And people have to, I talk with everybody. I don't belong to one group, I belong to the Mohawk Nation, and we're all the same people. So I talk to everybody. When there's an issue, I don't just speak to one group. I ask everybody their opinion. And I'm proud to say I'm welcome to talk to anybody. And if you do put me in there, I'll be the same way. And I'll fight for your rights as I'm supposed to as a Mohawk man. And that's all I'm here for. And July 7th, give me that chance, because I don't believe I can make a difference. I know I can. So I hope to see you all come vote and everybody else who doesn't vote. All right? Thank you very much, and thank you for coming out.
Next on the list is Landon Meloche.
And here I thought I was going to be last. It's nice to see so many familiar faces, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Landon Joseph de Meloche. My parents are Madeline Montour and Alan Dixon. Grandparents, Agnes Phillips Montour and Louis T. Montour, Vanita Dixon and George Dixon. I am married. I have 2 daughters. My wife, a very, very patient woman. She's put up with me for about 20 some odd years. My daughters, Cassidy and Kennedy Meloche. Cassidy just graduated from our language program just a couple of weeks ago. She also graduated from Concordia. She has a BA. Kennedy is currently about to start her 2nd year in Dawson. Sorry. Okay, I didn't realize you couldn't hear me. So Kennedy's about to start her 2nd year at Dawson, which is, I'm very, very proud of both of them. I believe highly in our education, educating our youth. The youth are the future. Whether they take over our council jobs or they go off on their own somewhere, they are the future. They need to get educated. I have 3 sisters, 2 brothers. I have a stepsister. My stepfather is Roddy Meloche. Let's see, my education and my experiences. I graduated Howard S. Billings, after which I joined the Marine Corps. Served 4 years in the Marine Corps. When I got out, I came home and got a job with the Peacekeepers. I was there for 20 years, working with some of the best guys I can talk about. I can talk about them all day, but we're talking about me right now. So, what am I here for? I want to bring to this table some of my experiences, some of my knowledge. I'm an open-minded person. I'm a very opinionated person. I have strong opinions, but I only form my opinions once I learn what the subject is. I won't prejudge situations. We do have a lot of situations in this community right now that need to be dealt with, and I believe with my help and the help of the rest of the counselors at the table, we can get the job done. This wasn't exactly my speech, and I didn't even look at my notes yet. I missed so many points that I want to make. But with that being said, I hope you vote for me, and if you do, I will work my hardest to accomplish everything that we need to get done. Thank you.
Next on the list is Mike Delisle Jr.
Not last. At last. First, I'd like to acknowledge our elder who gave us the words to follow tonight. Thank you, my friend, Yaongoa. I'd also like to acknowledge my family, some of which who are here, who have put up with me and supported me over the last not only 3 years, but probably more predominantly over the last 3 because it's been an adventure, I'll say. My friends who have supported me over the past 3 years, again, through this adventure in private sector, away from politics, dealing with every other issue in life as well. Kahnawà, thank you very much. You know who you are in everything that you've done for me. Someone spoke a minute ago about losing an election. I know that's like obviously 3 years ago. Different feelings though from the person who spoke earlier. For those who know me, for those who are close to me, my friends and family, people who were at my home that fateful night 3 years ago, about an hour in of the less than celebration, I'll call it, I had to say something to the people in attendance, and you can ask them if you wish. I said, I almost feel guilty. It's like an immense weight lifted off your shoulders, because as people have said, the job's not easy. Probably the number one question people have asked me if I'm running again over the past 2.5, 3 years. I've answered everything from maybe, no, yes, running away, and everything in between. Is why aren't you running for Grand Chief again? Several-fold. I think the predominant reason is I want to accomplish something. And it's not to say that Grand Chief isn't hard work. It's not to say that it's not focused. For me, it's just not focused enough. I spent my first 3 terms, 6 years as a council member from '98 to 2004 as just that, a portfolio chief, a council member, sitting with various obvious opportunities and goals to achieve, some which I did. I think with the experience now, having been Grand Chief for 11 years up until 2015, those 6 that I just spoke of, the last 3 years in private sector, I believe if I focus on 2 or 3 key issues in the community, along with the support of community, direction from community, and support of the table at administration, we could achieve a lot. I don't need to lead the parade. Somebody said that before. I just need to be part of it. It's something that's chewed on me for 3 years. My wife and I spoke about it in earnest probably for the last year over some other issues, but she supported me and said I wouldn't be here without her and my family saying, yes, you should do this again. But again, there's so many problems, I'll say it that way, in this community that I'd like to focus on a few. I'm still involved in the community. I've missed 3, 4, maybe community meetings over the last 3 years. I'm on the Case Populaire board. I'm the chair, just recently reappointed, Kahnawà, to the board after last month's election as community services chairperson. And I believe that's the number one issue in this community. We need to focus on the social issues that ail us, and we need to be able to heal. It's a huge process. It's going to take generations, as people say, multi-generational, and I believe that. People talked about collective impact. We were the impetus of that years ago. I've attended the last several steering committee meetings as well, and I believe it needs to be pushed harder. It needs to involve more community members. It needs to have direct input and involvement from you, the people. Also, seniority. I know Phil mentioned that a few minutes ago. I'm the only negotiator I'd ever had for 10 years. It took a large part of my life. And I believe as Grand Chief, you can do a lot, but I believe as a portfolio chief with the resources that we have at our disposal, you can achieve a lot more if you focus on only a couple of issues. And those would be predominantly my 2 main focuses. People talked about Justice Act. I'm very interested in that as well, and again, help to establish some of that in the road moving forward. It's a slow road. So again, looking to have those types of achievements is something that I'm looking forward to if reelected again. My wife used to ask me often, why don't my sons cut the grass? Because this job requires some sense of achievement on a personal level. I'm looking to do that. I want to bring my work ethic and 17 years of experience at the council table back to the community. So I hope to see you on July 7th. Kahnawà.
Next on the list is Tonia Williams.
been sitting here for 2 hours hoping I would be next, and finally that dream has come true. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tonia Williams. My mother is Valerie Jacobs, and my father is the late Wendell Williams Sr., who I dedicate tonight's speech to because he survived residential school, and he wore an orange shirt every year to celebrate his life, and I feel like that deserves acknowledgement. So, Dad, wherever you are, this is for you. I have a son. His name is Joshua Sky. He's 16 years old. He just graduated from high school, Lower Canada College, last week. And I am a descendant of Eunice Williams, which means that I'm ninth cousin to Steven Seagal. My mom said not to say that, but take it as you will. I have worked in the area of First Nations governance for 18 years. I've held a position at the National Centre for First Nations Governance, and I have worked in our community for 10 years, specifically on the justice file, negotiating with Canada and Quebec on the implementation and design of a justice system that would hear federal, provincial, and Kahnawake law and have that enforced. I also negotiated our child care agreement, which was a subsidized program that we did. At the time, it was $5 a day. And that was no easy feat. Begging Quebec to let us into a provincial program because we're a federal reserve was a difficult thing. But we've done it, and we maintain that. I hold a diploma in criminology and associate's art degree and a specialized diploma in social science from the University of BC. I also am in year 4 at Concordia University in international relations and political science. I have a 4.0 GPA as of right now, and sometimes you just have to say it when you work really hard. I currently work for public safety as appointed commission member, and I do policy in policing, and I am the community's parole supervisor, one of the first in Canada that we have been able to work on and create a program for corrections. And I have to say, in 18 years, it is the most rewarding job I've ever held in my life. To see people from prison to being reintegrated into our community is just outstanding. So I'm very proud of that. So why am I running? I'm running because of these alarming statistics. 11% of our population is unemployed, and that is rising. Out of a population of about 7,000, that is a lot, because Montreal's is at 6.9 with a population of 1.7. We have an epidemic. We have 30% of our population that has not graduated from high school. It's a dropout rate. We have 16% of our community and growing on social assistance. And unfortunately, it goes on and on and on. But what I want to communicate to you tonight is that governance plays a 100% hands-down relationship to those figures, because we have the power to change them. If we cannot enforce our laws to create an economy that investors will be interested in, we cannot do anything for our community. If we cannot regulate our industries or generate revenue or create employment standards with health and safety standards, we cannot enforce a child support payment act or a landlord and tenant act, and we cannot offer our industries access to the international market without the enforcement of our laws. It is so important that we be able to enforce our laws in our community. Domestically, Canada and Quebec need to know that we're governing democratically. The United Nations that advocates for Aboriginal rights needs to know that we are governing democratically. We need to know that we are governing democratically, and that means legislating our rights and putting limits on what the elected officials can and cannot do. We need to create a different relationship between the elected officials and the community, and that comes from mandated consultation. Consultation is a fundamental tool to any democratic state. And if you have people in these positions that don't understand the relationship between democracy and consultation, you need to give that a second thought. In 1966, we declared that we would create a policing agreement. In 1995, we signed a tripartite agreement with Canada and Quebec. In 1940, the first Mohawk Justice of the Peace replaced the Indian Act agent, which set off a series of changes in our history, which came to the Judicial Act, the 1999 Justice Agreement, and it will come to the enforcement of our laws. Change in history only occurred because of a change in mindset. And I encourage you to change how you think and how you vote in order to change our future. Thank you.
Guess who? Curtis Jacobs. I must add that you might be last on the list, but certainly not in character.
I just want to start off by saying, be careful what you wish for. I did not want to go first, and I also didn't want to go last. So yes, my name is Curtis Jacobs. I don't know if you all know me. I've been out of the community for about 11 years. I came back a few years ago. During that time, I worked for the government, actually, working for Corrections Canada with our people right across from Canada. It was a great experience. I got to address some of the policies that were in place and made sure that they did not infringe upon our rights. I work at a medium institution, medium security. Going in there every day is different. You never know what you're going to meet. So that's what I think this position will be. And I don't want it to be repetitive. I want new challenges. I'm ready for it. This is something I've been pretty much thinking about for the last 12 to 15 years. It's not a decision I took lightly to run. I personally, physically don't run, but. So, what I want to say basically is I think I have experience to help Kahnawake move forward, move in the right direction with the backing of the community, because that's where the drive should come from. It's not about me. In my previous positions, it was never about me. So in my position in corrections, I was a liaison officer. So I had to be the go-between between the offenders, the Ngwe offenders, and the system. Make sure they understand everything that's in their correctional plan. So with having people from up north to out west, people who don't speak French, sometimes don't even speak English, you know, we'd have to bring translators in and make sure they understand. You know, so I had to go look for resources. So all that in order to serve the incarcerated community. You know, I was their advocate. If there was anything wrong, I made sure people knew. And I took that seriously. So that was the liaison part. Then I became a program facilitator in substance abuse prevention program, as well as violence prevention. Again, working for the community, the offender population. Again, have to advocate on their behalf. You know, I want to see that change. So during my time there, I'm still there, but I've heard a lot of the staff say, my God, what have you done with this person? He's changed so much. I said, why are you coming to me? Go see that offender and let him know you see that change. I said, it's not about me. And this position here, should I get elected, is not about me. It's about the community. And I hope you get to know me a little bit more. I did not want to be the first one on the radio, but it so happened that I was on the first day. But it seemed like I was rambling, like probably tonight, but that's okay. I have faith in the council table. I think some changes need to be made. And we need to look at where we're going and what exactly we want as a community.
You know, somebody spoke about divisions before. I think, you know, there's the whole us against them mentality, and it creates too much division. And there are issues that do create division, but we need to be able to sit down with each other, no matter where we come from, and be able to talk without a fear of being attacked. People are passionate about issues as much as I am, but we can't attack each other. We can't fight each other. Otherwise, we have nothing left to fight who we should be fighting, you know, in pushing our agenda and who we are. That's what I want to achieve, you know, bring the community back together. Because we've seen it before. We're able to do that. And some people just, well, thank you. So I work with dignity and integrity, and that's not a compromise. Thank you.
Right, before we proceed any further, I'd like to have the audience to give all the candidates a good hand for their wonderful speeches. I'd like to thank the candidates for your fine speeches. What's going to happen next is we're going to have a 15-minute intermission. The technical crews will be removing some of their stuff because the live broadcast will be finished. There'll be a question and answer period after 15 minutes. Thank you.